Hi everyone, it's Evelyn from Twin Flames 3344. I have a Divine Masculine Twin Flame read for you today. Some pretty cool stuff and some really amazing messages that you need to hear about wounds and stuff like that. Definitely came up today. It is April 9th, 2019. The 9 is the Hermit. It is the Wise One, the collective consciousness, the going within and being still. The day adds up to the 25-7, which is the Knight of Wands. Very opposite from that. Very passionate movement, rushing in to be passionate. It's a lot of physical activity, and I'm going to get right into it. And the 9, and I'm losing my voice, and someone has something to say, and they're rushing in to say it. So it very much can represent the masculine and the feminine today with the Hermit and the Knight of Wands. So as I was getting ready for the read today, I was getting again from John Lennon, All You Need Is Love. Also, I was getting a big theme today is about a wound between the masculine and the feminine. Is the masculine choosing his family over her? And I'll get into that more with the read. But is blood thicker than love? This is your question. Do you choose the wounds of your family, or do you choose love? This is the question for the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine. So as we get right into the read, and again we're saying family inclusiveness versus love, and also this is paralleling to the template of Mary Magdalene and Jesus. Does Jesus go with his followers, and does he pick them over Mary Magdalene? So this is your question. And there's a past life that I was given as well, where it was a very wealthy family of the masculine, and I wasn't really into the big parties which were expected of me, and that it ended up where he always, of course, loved me, but his family put so much pressure on him and would send him away to war to keep us apart, that the resentment would build up towards me because I was putting a wedge between him and his family, and his family was just trying to control him. But he ended up being sent off to war and didn't say goodbye the last time, and then he was killed, and they brought him back but didn't even bother with me, just like that wasn't a part of me. So it's a huge wound. The read was done at 10:12 today. The only major arcana was the transition card, or the death card. The card before the read was justice, which I also use in the read, so that was there as well. So transition or death and divine justice here. So there's huge energies today. The numbers brought up judgment as well. There were 2 swords, 2 wands, 5 pentacles today for the masculine, and 1 cup. So very much about trying to get his hands on some coin. The only court card was the Knight of Swords, which is the messenger of truth. So if I say MOT, that's the messenger of truth. And the numbers and the messages all have to do with patience, spiritual partnership, new beginning, and rebirth. The numbers were 11, 55. The sequence is 1, 2, 3, and 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's definitely the end of the cycle going into the new beginning. 11 and 55 are the Justice and the Ace of Swords of Truth, Excalibur. And we're also getting a theme of, in the coding message, of taking a step back. So it's like the divine air conditioning, which is AC is also alternating current, hot and cold. And remember, when something is hot, it expands. When it's cold, it contracts. So it may not fit the same way, right, when it's cold as when it's hot. So I was getting divine air conditioning as the 10 of the high vibration transitions to 9, so taking a step back, and 1 to 0. So it definitely all in line with taking a step back. Rebirth. Like a car when you're parked and you must get back up in order to get out. So you have to retrace your steps in order to go forward again, and that also is in line with the way the energy goes, right? You have to retrace some steps before you can go forward. So it kind of propels you forward again. And they're telling you that's where we are right now. Also is getting guidance to maybe go back to your very first communication with your masculine. What got you to him in the first place? All right? Were you reaching out to help you heal? So, So just also a reminder for Mary Magdalene now, as the crucifixion is coming up and the rebirth, to make sure she loves herself first. You know, even give yourself a kiss. Okay? Love yourself first. And don't forget that you and your twin are one. So when you love you, you love them. You can't love you and not love them. You have to love both of you first. Of course, you are first because it's your body. But your masculine's first as well. Your masculine comes before everyone else in your life because that's you. You are them and they are you. So that is going to be a common theme throughout this as well. So the numbers that came up with this message were, like I said, the 10 going back to the 9 and the 1 going back to the 0, but also the 11 and the 2 of the High Priestess and Justice. I was also getting 101 minus 90 equals 11. So Justice came up twice there. So if that means something to someone, let me know. The 101 minus 90. And then also 20 of the Judgment came up, as well as 15 of the Devil, 35 of the Wounded Warrior, which can be both the masculine and feminine, but it does come up from Mary Magdalene a lot, but Jesus as well. 57 came up with the 3 of Swords, so that separation and heartbreak, but also just the third-party situation, that everybody gets hurt in a third-party situation. 23 of the King of Wands, and then the number 2251. So if you break that up, that's 22 of the Fool and 51 of the King of Swords. So he becomes free when the King of Swords stands in his truth. Okay, so we had in these numbers, and at 11:22 I was writing these numbers down. It was 11:22, and there's a police gun range nearby. They started shooting. So that was coming up at 11:22, which is Justice for the Fool. Ace of Swords, Devil, Wounded Warrior, 3 of Swords, King of Wands, the Fool, King of Swords, and the Knight of Wands rushing in. So as we get into the read, there was just a couple things that came up online when I put the messages in. One was all about Ace of Cups, which is John Lennon saying all you need is love, because the Ace of Cups is very representative of that, and compassion. Also, this heading came up for Final Revision, Book Chapter 8. And if you want to look up the heading, it literally was Final, R-E-V, so the abbreviation for revision, of 12-2-2009 Unnatural Causes. So it was Chapter 8 of a book, The Hidden Epidemic, the Impact of Early Life Trauma on Health and Disease. So a very interesting article. You might want to read it. It's by Vincent J. Felitti, F-E-L-I-T-T-I, and Robert F. Anda, A-N-D-A. The result of divine and the heading words that came up weren't a full sentence, but they did say result of divine retribution or demonic possession, instead revealing that they were strongly and then ... And when I went through the article, I was having trouble finding those words, that sentence. So if you can find it, let me know. But it looked like a very interesting article, so you might want to check it out. Also, Prestige and Probability were coming up here. Sounds like a movie title, Prestige and Probability. Right? So the focus of the masculine, so probability is very logical, mathematical, and prestige, the status and how they look. Also, 1980 music came up. And as I was writing this, I got the music in me again. And notice there were no 8s in the coding I put into the system, and yet 8s are coming up constantly here. Lionsgate is coming up, it's a big deal. February 8th was this 1980 music coming up, so we have 1980, and then 8 again. David Bowie and wife of 10 years, Angie, file for divorce. All right, so this is a message for you. And notice Angie is like angel. Bowie gets custody of 9-year-old son Zoe. So there may be a masculine here who's getting this message that their divorce is finalized and they got custody of their son or their child. I was also getting 214, which happens to be Valentine's Day. Lou Reed marries Sylvia Morales, but notice that that's marries morals. Okay, and then in New York City's Greenwich Village, Green Witch. So someone who may profess to be green, like doing all the right things societally, is a witch, Green Witch Village. And also February 19th, Bon Scott, lead from AC/DC, dies in London. All right, so this may be the sequence of events that happens with the masculine and feminine coming together as far as divorces and remarriages, morals, right? And angels, and then London is a big hub for the twin flames and the soul group. So there may be some kind of ending in London as well. That was February 19th, so 19 is the sun. February 14th came up, which is the Temperance card, Patience and Angels. And then February 8th, which is the Infinity, and staying at 0 point, that balance and strength, the strength within. And you noticed all the dates were in February. And February is 2 of the High Priestess. It's also coming up early February, which is Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, being open-minded. And then I was getting, because 35 was coming up a lot, the reflection of 35, because 35 is the wounded warrior, is 53, the Knight of Swords. So when the messenger of truth comes in a harsh way, even though it's not negative, they're just speaking the truth. But if it stings a little bit, it's reflecting the wounded warrior. So you see how that works? So when you're the wounded warrior, you're reflecting your masculine, the Knight of Swords, and vice versa. So as we get into the read here, it starts with the Ace of Orbs. So this is the Syrian Starseed deck. So we have the Ace of Orbs and then Divine Justice behind it. Okay? So we have dolphin energy here as well. So you might want to listen to some dolphin music here. So at 11:01 I started the read. It was Ace of Orbs, and I was getting dumpster diving, which is funny because I have a picture on my Facebook I put at one point in the past couple of years, bird story. It was down the shore and there were two seagulls fighting in the trash. And I have these great pictures about these two seagulls fighting for food in the trash. But now I was getting dumpster diving. Some of the initial energies that were coming up in the initial underlying energy were Pisces, Aries, Libra, and Leo. And I'm going to piece the signs as I go, okay? So dumpster diving with the truth. So someone might be homeless at the moment. Hot and cold, Justice and or Libra hides behind truth and triumph, vacillating about coming out to take their blinders off, admitting wrongdoing, the first step in self-acceptance. Truth of the third party through work, not getting along at work or quitting work to magnetize that gold coin of the Christ consciousness, money and or new life, or just play ball for a bit. So some of the men might be out playing sports to avoid risk of happiness. So scared to risk their happiness because they're safe in their lie and their unhappiness. The fool opens their heart to leap to prisoner who is unhappy or unsatisfied or coming off as arrogant. So remember, when you're unhappy, sometimes it appears as something else. And I can attest to that because when I was in college and I was a very introverted person, I was very shy. And my friend was very social and I loved hanging out with her because she would do all the talking and I wouldn't have to know what to say all the time. But one time when we were just the two of us, ran into a friend of hers. The friend asked her later what was wrong with me because I was coming off as a snob, when the whole time I was there, I was just intimidated by them and I didn't know what to say. So she thought I was a snob, which was very much the antithesis. So be careful about judging a book by its cover. So when you're unhappy, it can come off as you're a snob. You know how when people want to look like they're cool, they come off as a snob. It's equating here that to unhappiness. It's off-putting. It's putting yourself above another. It's showing arrogance. So the Divine Feminine is up ahead. The masculine sees the Divine Feminine is up ahead in the cold, while the Emperor watches from his throne. Now the Emperor can, in this read, the Emperor can be the Divine Masculine, but also can be a father type figure here. So you can see one, the other, or both actually. The Divine Feminine is up ahead out in the cold while this Emperor watches from his throne. 3 out of 10 swords of betrayal exposed. So you notice 3 out of 10 is the 3 of swords. So 3 out of 10 swords and 10 is betrayal. The heartbreak of this is now exposed. A small bleed covers up a much larger issue, bleeding out. So ebony and ivory was coming up here, working together in perfect harmony, side by side, with Viking olive head sitting between them, like food in between the piano keys, or food stuck in your teeth. Sometimes after picking at it for a while, right, you need to get help, or use a tool, like floss, to get it out. So it's coming up as the karmic in between the keys of ebony and ivory, of the masculine and the feminine. She's there, but so if the masculine can't get it out, he needs to ask for help or find another tool. So 4 gold coins were then coming up, and when I went to write gold, I wrote coins first, and then when I went to change it to gold, I realized that the lines in changing coin to gold was a lower J, and then like an apostrophe, and then a J that lands on the line. So it's like J and J, which is Johnson and Johnson. So that can come up for someone, but it also could have to do with anything that's J and J. It's also kind of like J apostrophe and a backwards L as opposed to a J. So it's kind of like what's it called? Those little wrenches you get with everything that you have to put together yourself. The L wrench, or I just can't think of the name, what people call it. But anyway, you know what I mean. It's like, you know, it's giving you an example that that's a tool that you can use to try to get that space out of between. Oh, the picture. The 2 J's are like the notes with the food stuck in between, and like your teeth. It's showing me a picture of that. I love how Spirit does this. But then I was getting the 4 gold coins is the alignment with the block in the doorway. But like I said, J&J came up, so if any of you work for J&J, my brother actually works for J&J as well, who I was just talking to the other day. So when something's in the way, like the J and the J, the and is in the way, the space between the words, use floss. Or a gift bag at work. Which is funny, because when I used to work at Penn, a long time ago, when you were still allowed to, you know, you're not allowed to give gifts or trips or anything like that, but back in the day, they used to do that all the time. And of course, the companies that I would work with would come in with their products and bring little gift bags now and then. So that was J&J, one of them. And the reason why it's not accepted anymore is because it's considered a manipulation. You're paying them to do something for you, when especially hospitals are supposed to be free of any kind of manipulation in that way. So 4 gold coins align with a block at the door, or the portal. And then I was looking around to see, all right, what 4 things around my doors do I need? Where's the message here? So I look up, and it was not at my front door, but my doorway to my kitchen. I have some pictures there. I actually have 4 picture frames there. And one of them was a picture of, that was left over from my mom after my dad passed, was a picture of 4 of us, but there's 5 of us kids. But it's the only picture I had, because my siblings took the other pictures. So, but I like it because it's in black and white, and I remember it from the old house growing up. So I put that up, but it's only 4 out of the 5 kids. So I was being called to see that, my youngest brother being left out, and he lives across the country. He's feeling left out of the family. So notice this around your house. Also, there's a picture, there's 4 pictures altogether of my children, and then that one picture of my siblings and I. And there's one picture of my daughter that's 4 pictures in one. So I have 4 different facial expressions from her prom, which you note at prom, like when they're all done up, there are 4 different personas, and my daughter's in acting, so it was guiding me to bring that up for you as well. So then I was getting, so the 4 faces of acting, right? So that's a false face. I was also getting 3-2-1, which is a card that I was guided to read to you yesterday, because 3 to 1, that comparison was coming up in the cards just in general a lot lately. So here it is coming up again, 3 to 1, and that card talks about bringing everything together. The mother, the father, and the child are all one. Also 4 down to 3 was coming here. Like taking a step back, 3 as 1, but it's also 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. So going backwards a little bit, it was bringing up split personality. And then the people left out, because like there's one picture of me with my 2 kids, but then there's another picture of just my son. So him feeling left out, for people not necessarily getting in touch with him, or just feeling left out from me and my daughter because we just have more in common, that kind of thing. So recognizing those who feel left out, and why are they allowing themselves to feel left out when they don't need to feel that way, because they're very much loved. I was also getting the year 2013 here. So think about back to 2013, there's something significant that needs to come up there for you. And also that it's 20 and 13, 20 of the judgment, being judgmental, and 13, and be careful how you judge, because you may be misjudging the appearance of things. And 13 is the death card, it's transition and transformation, and this read today is all about transition, because that was the only major arcana that came up. So it's about people feeling left out, whether it's my little brother Jim or my son Matthew, okay? It's about masculines feeling left out of the family or out of the picture, not included, but actually it may be just because they live far away, not because they're being excluded. Also, I was getting then, I just saw ebony and ivory when I wrote it down. I was seeing the E and the I, and I was guided to write that down. E plus 1, the reflection of that is again 13, 1, 3. It's the transition, because at death there is change. It's when you change dimensions, you come to the Y in the road, the valve of the vein. And I was guided to write down, don't ask, just go. So when you get to the Y in the road, the Y in the road, in the row, that might, all right, so someone might be rowing as well. So when you get to that Y, don't ask yourself and start vacillating, because a lot of the masculines do that, so they can't get to a decision. Just go. Just like they do in business for the more minor decisions that they're really good at, because there's no real emotional intent behind it, right? It's black and white to them, as opposed to emotions, which are more gray. So 20, and the judgment was coming up, that's decision at the Y in the road, which can be bringing out someone's indecision. The feminine 2 has source behind it. 2, 0. 0 is source, contained by the human body. So in judgment, it's the feminine energy. The feminine 2 has source to help the feminine put them in the right direction. So she's not afraid of making those big decisions. And remember, the feminine is in both the masculine and the feminine. So women are more judgmental, the judgment, because masculine are decisive about unimportant things, making them look powerful. The small bleed disguising the big underlying issue, avoiding until the feminine energy within themselves or another kicks their ass for not allowing you to be you. So you blocking yourself from being you, and people are being judgment, trying to trigger you into allowing yourself to love yourself first. All right, so this doesn't have to be an outside feminine. It can be your own feminine kicking your butt. And remember, it's important to be triggered. It's not about allowing people to sit in their addictions, right? Someone's got to call you out on your crap. You know, you see the mothers who enable their children. They allow their alcoholic children to stay home with them. That's enabling them. That's not love. Loving them is enabling your children to be independent and free. So if you're with a karmic who enables you, that's not love. That's codependency. Okay? So 25 was coming up here, 28 and 13. So we have the Knight of Wands, the 28 is the Two of Wands, and then the 13 of transition, transformation, death. So it's about the Knight of Wands moving in passionately to the Y in the road, the 28. And the reason the 25 came up is because even though 28 is the Two of Wands, and it's the path in the road in the tarot deck, in the Divine Triangle numerology book, 25 is the Y in the road. That choice of path. So the Knight of Wands, by the extreme passion of the Knight of Wands, creates a potential choice, the potentiality, the inspiration. When it is great and that strong, it causes you to have to make a choice. And thus the 13, the change, the death, the change in the dimension. As passions build and decisions get harder and harder until death do us part, and you find that you never have lived your life, you refuse to make yourself happy, and now you'll have to come back to now have all those same choices over and over again in a next life. So it's bringing up the karma and karmic retribution. So when you don't live your authentic life, you end up having to come back and play it all over again. So it's just the patterns that you keep, you stay in that circle until you go outside the circle, draw outside the lines, because you love yourself first. So then 3 faces of Eve was coming up. The mother and father and child, representing the feminine. The 4 faces of the Emperor, and mind you, this came up at 1133, which is the Christ vibration. The 4 faces of the Emperor is unable to face mother, father, and child with authentic self. Okay, so the 3 faces of Eve, mother, father, child, the 4 faces of the Emperor, unable to face mother, father, child with their actual authentic self. That was very cool coming up. And next to it I wrote down, back in 2013, because I brought up that year, was the year that I fell on the steps at work and started my back injury. But that was also what led me to my masculine. So 2013, the date that I fell, that day adds up to 28, which started the twin flame journey, the Y in the road. Yet 25 in the divine triangle, I wrote down Y, the Y in road, and if Y in road, I wrote 2 close together, and it says yin road. Okay, so the divine triangle, it's telling us now, as opposed to the tarot, where the 28 is the path of the road, the divine triangle numerology book is saying that 25 is the Y in the road as the feminine energy, the yin road. Oh, that's interesting, because that's the Knight of Wands coming in to sweep her off her feet and save her. And then we have 1133 of the Christ vibration, the Savior. The 4 faces of Emperor, unable to face mother, father, child with who they really are. And then I was getting, as I turned the page, it was 1134, which is the 8 of Wands, that passionate, heated exchange of expressing yourself, your authentic self. Come out wherever you are. Hide and seek. This is another wound. Not wanting to be found, because then you lose the game. If you are seen for who you are, and hide and seek, if you're found, you no longer have the upper hand. You no longer have control. When actually letting go is the ultimate in control. Right? Because if you don't care if they find you, you're bored of the game now. You don't really want to play anyway. All right, so the Fool leaps, with or without loyal friend. If you want to come along, you will. And if you don't, you won't. The Fool is still happy doing what they're doing. The only way to get the Fool's attention is to catch me if you can. All right, that movie's coming up. Catch me when I fall. Oh, it's making me cry. All right, so the parallel here is the only way to get the masculine's attention or the feminine's attention is to catch them when you fall, right? So if they're in their honest authenticity and doing what they love, and you can't get their attention because they're so busy making money for the masculine, doing what they love, the only way to get their attention is to catch you when you fall. So in the movie Catch Me If You Can, it's making me want to cry again. Because he was running from himself. Because the only people who he knew love by were his parents, the love that they had together, which he so admired. And they were always there for him. That love were the people who always caught you when you fell. And then he sees how his parents split up, and everything they had together wasn't real because neither one of them caught the other. It's making me cry. Who wants to come through here? It'll come through in the cards, or it'll come up in the message. All right, catch me if you can. And by the way, I saw him, the real guy from Catch Me If You Can. I watched him speak for an hour and a half without taking a breath. Unbelievable channeler, you know. He was very connected. So when you open your eyes, so when you fall, right, the masculine's always really alert, right? But when all of a sudden the rug's cut from underneath him and he falls to the ground, then he closes his eyes when you hit the floor. When he opens his eyes, and I was also getting, two things. I was getting, I always forget her name. In Sex and the City, not Miranda, not Carrie, not, you know, the goody two-shoes, right? The character in Sex and the City, when she met Trey, he rescued her. When you open your eyes, I was also getting with Jennifer Lopez, Bride. I can't think of the title. I'm sorry, it's just my brain issues. But you know which movie I'm talking about, when Matthew McConaughey rescues her in the street. I'm getting both of those views, okay? So when you fall and you open your eyes, and the masculine, though, this time is the one who falls, this is the rescue, like a loving parent. They make the room for the baby as safe as possible, and then they let go and let the kid play and make sure the kid knows where they are, so that if they do get hurt, they know where to find them to get help. There's no hide and seek, because that's love. Love sets you free, lets you work and play as you please, calls you out on your wrongdoing, but always lets you back in. Divine Masculine has allowed his karmic to tell him who he is, allowing her to stand in the way of his authentic self, his twin. Mistaking jealousy for love, mistaking allowing his vices, even supporting them, because misery, after all, loves company, and then Three's company was coming up, as acceptance, his acceptance to keep him tied in. She assures you that no one else could ever love you. You have too many issues, and I am willing to expand on them with you and manipulate you to stay. However, you are not your vices. You are love and always will be. You are not your family's templating. You are free to be you. And then I was getting memories like the corners of my mind, misty waters color memories of the way we were. The illusion of when we think back at how wonderful it was when it wasn't. As long as you bring home the coin, you are worthy of her. That is the hook. She'll profess the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit to guilt you into believing her story. The pirate is missing an eye because his karmic took it for looking at another. Jealousy, okay? And karmic retribution. She is great with her words, always able to turn the story around to make it your fault. And you, being the kind one, will willingly take the blame, allowing guilt and shame to be your name. And this goes vice versa, too, for the feminine and her karmic. Oh, he's such a good person, sacrificing for another. But would they sacrifice for you? This life was given to you, masculine, not your karmic. She has her own life as a gift. If she chooses not to take care of it, that is her issue with Source or God. The world seems to be, but is not wiser than you. The workhorse put down because he broke his leg. Third party not expressing feelings, or communication delayed due to the sun. Happiness, not wanting to waste a moment of good feeling due to drinking or overindulgences to cover up the pain and make you feel worse the next day. So this is coming up as, you know, Are you worthwhile to yourself, first of all? And does the person you're with actually believe you're worthwhile? Or are you fooling yourself? Right? So if you're the workhorse and your leg got broken, do they want you anymore if you can't make money? So third party not expressing feelings or communications delayed. This is the feminine delayed, because as long as the masculine accepts that abuse, the feminine won't accept him in. She'll always love him and welcome him back at any time, but she is now in that place of happiness, not wanting to cover up the pain to make you feel worse the next day, like when you drink and want to throw up the next day. Why would you waste that day denying who you are, your authenticity, when you have freedom and happiness, that they're a hot commodity, but you must live in your truth in order to get it. That is love. And then again, there's an underlying theme of all you need is love. So that's John singing behind me this whole read. Chemistry comes up here for the masculine as the underlying energy and romantic feelings. The 5D dream world for the masculine seems fishy to him because the divine feminine is sealed. And he's saying, well, if the divine feminine is sealed and no one can get to her, then why isn't he too? Why is he experiencing all this 3D drama? So watching the divine feminine with kids and harsh truths of jealousies coming up with his karmic, who could be an empress with a snake behind her, and keeping the divine masculine's arms tied by guilt. Why would your divine feminine want you now? So this is the karmic, what she says to the masculine. Why would your divine feminine want you now? And if she did, why would you respect someone like that, who lets you walk all over them? You'd be an idiot, divine masculine. Everyone would laugh at you, making divine masculine feel no matter what choice he makes that he's screwed. Thus, vacillation, i.e., not connected to higher self, source, no meditation, no spending time in nature, etc. If he doesn't trust his twin, he doesn't trust himself, and vice versa. Scorpio, Taurus, Cancer, and Pisces were coming up right there in that specific situation. Towering inferno of red boots, gonna walk right all over you, and she'll tell you it's for your own good too. She loves you. She's the only one who will ever really get you. The shell, the wrangler, the dead bug, the royal sheets and plates. Only she knows you better than yourself. And yet, why then do you feel right whenever your twin is near? Peace and love triggers war within self to release all your fears. And then I was getting, why do birds fall from the sky every time you walk by? Just like me, they long to be close to you. Your twin, she doesn't ask anything of you. She just wants to love you like you would love everyone else. Why are you unworthy of her love? Because red boots, the karmic, the red coats, taught you, if not jealous, there's no competition, no love, no rape, no love. The soldier, the knight, the warrior just takes what he wants because he's at war, trying to give away his wanting to die to another, so he won't be seen as a coward. The karmic wants your abuse because she doesn't feel worthy of love either. She will use her sexuality and her ability to get attention, whether it's just social, doesn't have to be sexual. She gets that. She uses that attention socially to make you feel jealous, that they like her, and you'll only have that life through her and not you, or vice versa. So the masculine could do that to the karmic as well. They like me. The only reason all these friends come over all this time is because of me. If you left me, you'd be all alone. None of these people would want to be your friends. But why would you care if they're not authentic to your energy anyway? So self-love comes up here as underlying energy, which is number 61, is the liar, cheater, thief card, as well as taking a risk. And the page turned at 1219, which is the sun, the divine masculine, being fully exposed in his authenticity. And when I wrote down self-love is 61, I also wrote down the compassion beneath the self-love is 99. And then Agent 99 came up, and Maxwell Smart, the logical man, and the mysterious Agent 99. Mystery is a turn-on when two people are not connected to their inner knowing. Neither trust. This entices each other. And then they come together and fight because they are at war within themselves, and so as within as is without, they are neither one of them loving themselves first. A person who likes to fight or compete can't stand it when someone walks away. Refusing to be triggered, i.e. the gunfight, the trigger, makes him feel weak. And this I was reminded of one of the guys I used to work with, who thinks he knows everything, and he can be the most fun person, and can be the most mean and vicious person when he wants you to do something, whether you like it or not. And when I was going through a difficult time, I didn't give a crap anymore about what he thought. And so when he was abusing me, which he shouldn't be allowed to do, I just said, when you're calm, I'll be happy to speak to you. And boy, was steam coming out of his ears. So this is the energy coming up here. When you don't allow them to trigger you, it diffuses the situation because all the steam gets let out of the balloon. I'll talk to you when you're calm. I will not allow someone to call me names or yell at me or order me around. If you ask nicely, I will always respond in kind, unless of course you're trying to lie or manipulate, and I will know your game and walk away. Sneaky behavior or half-truths of the wealthy, or the buried treasure, the secret, is that the wise man, being an imp, because he's being authentic to himself and staying at 0 point, and zonking out at the end of the day when the day is done, rising above the drama and the players, and getting up in the middle of the night sometimes with an inspiration to write it down. The secret to wealth is to stay connected and allow the universe to guide you, not other people outside of yourself. Be love, do what you love, love self first, eat, sleep, rise and play, then connect with your loved ones for new inspirations as you nourish yourself, and then rest and replenish, rise and be love again. Sneaky player relations and friends and spirits connecting are unable to get one over on the wise one with the light. One cannot fight love. Standing on the castle high wall at night, the hermit holds the big picture. The knight's loyal friend is his horse, to talk to, sit on, and ride, the simple pleasures of life. The contrast of nature to fleur-de-lis patterned silks, and a leg gently exposed from a long red dress with slit, showing knees and ankles. The hermit has no need to talk about money, for if all you are is love, there will always be energy exchange in kind to your authentic self. Rising up beyond truth to happiness and freedom, love, magnetism, and being bold, self-love. Recently, 3 flames. Present to family wedge between the Queen of Cups and Knight of Swords reversed, or not the Knight, but the King of Swords reversed. So the Queen of Cups feminine and the King of Swords reversed, divine masculine, not in their truth, because he's now aware that his family stands between them. Stuck in the past of trying to get his father's love and attention, committing to his father's will, and speaking with him like a little angel. Always, I was just getting little engine that could, so Thomas the Tank Engine too. Always patient with his father, doing what his father wants, his father's will, not his. And as, or the King of Swords reversed, could be a Taurus, or committed to establishment inauthentically, like his father. And the Queen of Cups is committed to angelic connection and patiently giving messages to the masculine. The foundation here is the 2 of chalices. Okay, there's a partner who does not inspire him, who's judging and fighting him every day, or a child who is sick, or a miscarriage due to judgment of or fighting, or divine masculines sexually frustrated in a call to action on a quest for the impossible dream. Freedom and truth, magnetic attraction, no longer inspired by family judgment, which could be Aquarius, and competition and or conflict, sports and games. He's no longer inspired by this. The family strategizing how to block his personal transformation. All right, and this is the family energy in the center of the reed. Okay, that's blocking the masculine. The Knight of Swords, Knight of Cups, and King of Pentacles are all reversed on this card. Possibly a father and two sons working too hard to get closure, to complete a task, to get to the sealed divine feminine, divine lover, guarded, wounded warrior, Mary Magdalene. And Gemini, Pisces, and Scorpio were coming up here in these energies. So there could be them in the family could consist of Gemini, Pisces, Scorpio, air, earth, and fire in the family. And again, they were all reversed here. There was a Knight of Swords reversed, a Knight of Cups reversed, and the King of Pentacles, all three reversed. And like I said, it could possibly be this dynamic between the masculine's father and the two sons. But for those who don't have their father around, it could be another dynamic. But it's definitely those energies there. And it's definitely about the masculine's family, okay? The extended family. So, the challenge for the masculine is the transition. So this is the portal energy, the death card. Transition of separation, insecurities, manipulation, and purging and crying and stressed. Broken connection with twin, the twin, who's the feminine, who's trying to choose her own path. The opportunity to be student, to hermit with light on moving through this portal, this transformation, and it could also possibly be a child who is learning the father's business. Now, crowning the masculine is the Knight of Swords, or the Adept of Orbs here. And you notice they're good at thoughts and words, the logical side. But in this card is much about sending 5D messages. There's a bubble there being sent off. So now the crowning Knight of Swords, messenger of truth, messages unseen by the King of Wands are now exposed. So some of the messages that were blocked from the feminine to the masculine are now exposed. There's a downturn of luck and frustration of healing and shining light, or conceited Aquarius and or Sagittarius is in the way at night, stalking, negative self-talk, or a child or adult acting like a child and saying mean things or spreading lies and rumors. Sagittarius in fear without option, and that could be the masculine, but it doesn't have to be. But it's coming up as the Temperance card, but this is not one of the more positive Temperance cards. It looks like someone in fear without option, but to come into union. And the masculine rising above nasty swords, stabbing at heart, and energy vampires around him. He wants to start over in love, giving up what little he has as far as love. Maybe a Leo, masculine or feminine karmic, taking divine masculine's energy now and giving it to another karmic to cover up the past, or there may be a cover-up. Leo protecting themselves from being hung out to dry when divine masculine takes off to rescue his dream girl, his future bride. So there's definitely energies here where whether it's his partner specifically, or karmics in the family getting wind of what he's actually planning on doing and trying to save themselves, okay? There's new passion, wounded warrior, who arouses him with her sweets and tweets and gate talk, trying to wake others up. Karmics trying to block messages about energy theft, blocking ability to burn the past for new passion as the King of Cups, or unconditional love, with twin in physical separation by Leo, strong-arming and squashing tactics. Okay, so it's definitely Leo, and it can be two Leos as well, because I've got in the karmic coming across as Leo energy all the time, but also there's definitely an older masculine in the masculine's life, could be an older brother too, who has always come across as an Emperor Leo, but different than that karmic Leo, who was a feminine. So it can be one or the other or both. So I turn the page and it's 111. Okay, so here we go with Magician manifesting justice. So soon is the wounded warrior for the masculine. Rushes in. The King of Cups rushes, or the Knight of, what was it? The King of Cups and the Knight of Wands is here. So it's the King of Cups rushing in passionately to dump Leo and or ego and separation, manipulating. So the Leo is coming up as manipulating the masculine by crying to kids or crying directly to him, and then having the kids take all her woes back to the masculine to guilt him. And I was getting an Emperor here also that's got their back turned to twins and or kids and the King of Swords, so it could be his father as well. Coming up as the manipulating energies, we're coming up as, could be Virgo, Aries, Gemini, reversed energy. The Emperor refusing to wake up, only interested in false light on the trophy wife. The Divine Masculine is working with crystals outside the Tower of Doom, so Masculine's getting it. So I'm inclined to believe this Emperor is more the father or this other older man energy, because a lot of the messages in this read were about the masculine getting stuff, okay? The Divine Masculine is working with crystals outside the Tower of Doom, impatiently walking away from ignorant people, people unaware, clearly, that he's now made his decision. Sagittarius and Pisces, both reversed, were coming up here around the masculine. Okay, the ignorant people around him is the energy that was coming up here that he's walking away from. He's impatiently walking away from any ignorant people, unaware clearly that he has made his final decision. The Romance Angel cards came up for the masculine were let friends help, reconciliation, heart-to-heart conversations, getting to know you, each other, and making an effort, that love is worth the effort. Around the Divine Masculine, or how he is seen, is one left in the cold, in exile, getting colder by the minute. The Hermit sheds light. All right, so this is the person in exile. Okay, but they may choose to stand apart from the crowd as well. You see the crowd back there in the back? Making some kind of spells. Okay, so around the Divine Masculine, or how he is seen, so it can be the Divine Feminine or the Divine Masculine, is the one left out in the cold, in exile, getting colder by the minute. The Hermit sheds light on choices and polarities, bold action needed, as synchronicities are apparent to the masculine, orchestrating a fall of power, or loss of money, or independence, or no longer wanting to be single. The truth is out, also seeing the illusion in the superficial life. The masculine needs to clear blocks, and there definitely can be Gemini reversed energy here, so negative Gemini, about perfect contentment, that the worst, the masculine thinking that now that the worst is over, about not getting affection, that the King of Wands reversed Emperor will lay down his sword to end the war, when the war is always within. So it's like saying in order for him to get a new life, the Emperor has to lay down their sword, or maybe his father has to pass, so he'll get an inheritance. It's a block about money issues. That he doesn't deserve to earn money on his own, and this is for the feminine as well. If it's in one of you, it's in both of you. Okay? So instead of thinking the war is outside of you, realize that the war is always within yourself, the brain wars. Not allowing yourself a new life of happiness and riches, if that's what you want, if that's what your authentic desire is, hung up, or a wound about money issues. All right, but this can be a negative. This negative parental energy could definitely be from Gemini, because the Gemini parent will control you with money. They'll make you feel that they're worthy of this great wealth, but you are not. That you have to earn it. Okay, so they teach you that you're not deserving of wealth. Only they are as parents. So this definitely could be Gemini energy here. So patience comes up for the masculine, as well as spiritual partnership, new beginnings, and rebirth. Like I said in the beginning, there's a Capricorn with desire to tell someone they love them. He's been sending messages to the Divine Feminine's heart and her allowing others in. The Leo tells him she'll reject you or use you for sex, or will leave you when she gets bored with you not waking up. This is what the karmic's telling the masculine. And when in reality, the divine feminine longs for her masculine in limbo, holding on to burdens only because as long as she feels used sexually with someone else, because that's abuse, or you refuse to talk to her, which is neglect, and treat her that she doesn't exist, she loves you by loving herself first and staying away. But know that you are always first too, since you are her and she is you. Grieving in the aftermath of Leo's strong-arming tactics in aligning the divine masculine with rejection blocks, causing you to feel rejection will then go through to the feminine and cause her to feel rejection, so you get back into that circle. So he won't get to the divine feminine. So this is the karmic, whether she's aware of it or not, is strong-arming him into guilt or his own insecurities again to keep him circling and unable to get out, because she puts him back in the rejection mode of feeling unworthy. The Emperor reversed is out of control, or could be experiencing ego death or literal death, as the divine masculine twin or father of one of the twins, so it could be masculine or feminine. So there's a masculine who may have been ill or already passed, someone's father. The divine feminine is coming out here on top, or it could be a mother empress upright who's keeping them together while the emperor reversed goes through transition. Okay, so whether it's the mother and the father died and she's keeping the family together, or it's the feminine keeping the masculine together as he goes through that ego death, it's all relevant. Okay, and these are the two cards where this is, for me, this is the Seven of Crystals, but it's also for me the divine feminine's heart. Okay, she's the Rapunzel in the tower, and she's now allowing people in. Okay, but this is her unable to see the masculine. Okay, and usually this is the Five of Cups, so it's about grief, but it's not so much grief here now anymore for the feminine, because she's gotten through all that. She knows wiser. She's wiser than that. But the two are right in front of her, but she's unable to either see the energy or unable to face the energy. And it's also the masculine. Remember I told you the Emperor is the four faces of not being able to tell the mother, father, child who he really is. So it's the masculine within you as well for the feminines. Okay, so the sidebar, there was a few extra clarification cards that I put out beyond the read. And that was the Queen of Wands reversed, in being very needy in attention of the sham fam, so still putting up the facade, hoping that he'll come back, so keeping the facade so everyone outside them won't know. But this marriage, but she is not wanting to share equally, that's for sure. So maybe she's agreed the only way he'll stay is if she starts giving more to the relationship, and she is not happy. So the truth is out about partners at work in exile presently from family or family business, in transition and or death of wounded warrior for a new life, with the messenger of truth, divine feminine, unable to see him because she is blocked by his family getting in the middle. And there's also Aquarius and Virgo energies coming up towards the end of the read as well. Okay, so that was the read. And it was a long one, so I'm going to let you go. I'm going to do the oracles again in a separate read for you. Okay, so this is the read, the basic read, and then we have the full read here. Okay. Alrighty. So drink your water and get your rest. Love yourself first. Rise and be loved, guys.